In today's video, I wanted to go through and rank all 16 Daedric artifacts that are featured in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. I already know what you're thinking. How do you rank the Daedric artifacts? Well, that's an excellent question. It actually turned out to be a lot trickier than I thought it would be. Every item has a time and a place. You probably wouldn't use Goldbrand on a mage, and you likely wouldn't wear the Ring of Khajiiti as a warrior. Each artifact can be incredibly useful for certain classes, while completely useless for others. However, there are also some items that are beneficial to every single player. So here's how I wanted to approach this. I'll be ranking each item on their overall usefulness, and how I'll do that? Well, I'm going to pretend like I'm being dropped into a randomized playthrough. All of my skills and attributes would allow me to use each artifact in its best possible version. In theory, my location, objectives, gear, and race would be randomly selected. The only surefire thing is that one Daedric item would be brought over with me. Now, the 16 Daedric artifacts are the ones that could be found in the base game. These are all acquired through completing their Daedric Shrine quests. Important to note though is that each item's attached quest won't be taken into account, as I'm only ranking the artifacts. So, these items include Azura Star, Goldbrand, Masque of Clavicus Vile, Umbra, Oghma Infinium, Saviour's Hide, Volendrung, Ebony Blade, Ring of Khajiiti, Mace of Molag Bal, Ring of Namira, Skeleton Key, Spellbreaker, Sanquine Rose, Wabbajack, and the Skull of Corruption. Feel free to pick apart my list in the comments below, and without further ado, let's get into it. Starting at the top, number 16, the Daedric artifact that I feel is the least useful is Wabbajack. Don't get me wrong, Wabbajack is probably the most fun Daedric artifact. Its uncontrollable effect creates such a chaotic and entertaining environment, but that's exactly why I feel that it wouldn't prove that useful. You turn your enemy into a random creature for 10 seconds. Sometimes this is extremely beneficial, and other times you're biting yourself in the back. You might change an ogre into a rat, or a rat into an ogre. You really don't know what you're gonna get. What's more, and the ultimate reason it's at the top of this list, is that it only has 10 uses. After 10 brief casts, which could be just one zone of a dungeon, the legendary staff essentially becomes a cool looking stick. Next up, at number 15, the second most useless Daedric artifact, I know a harsh statement, is Sanquine Rose. The only reason Sanquine Rose is lower than Wabbajack is because it's slightly more predictable. The staff is essentially a substitution for your conjuration skill. It summons a Daedra to fight by your side for 20 seconds. However, it still has a strong unpredictability factor, as that summon is random. It could be a Scamp, or it could be a Zivili. What's more, at the end of the fight, there's a chance that your newfound companion may turn its attention towards you. Plus, similar to Wabbajack, it only has 10 uses before it needs a recharge. At number 14, the third least useful artifact in Oblivion is the Ring of Namira. As far as enchantments go, the Ring of Namira isn't bad by any means. It reflects damage for 12% and reflects spells for 10%. However, there are other items on this list that just do it better. One of the items in question is coming up soon, but I don't want to give too much away at the moment. Essentially, this ring got placed below the previous entries because of its constant effect. However, it's still high on the list due to everything else's power. Coming in at number 13 is Volendrung. This two-handed warhammer actually has some really good enchantments. It drains the victim's health by 5 points for 20 seconds, and it paralyzes for 3 seconds. Combined, those effects could definitely come in handy if it's do or die on the battlefield. The issue though is that Volendrung's enchantments only have 16 uses. That's enough to maybe get you through 1 or 2 fights. What's more, compared to all the other melee weapons on this list, the hammer deals the lowest amount of base damage, coming in at just 20 points. Plus, Volendrung is a two-handed weapon. While the user will have extended reach, their attack speed is lessened, leading to a slower DPS rate. It's for those reasons that Volendrung falls short on this list. At number 12 is the Skull of Corruption. Staff users, I apologize for all of the staff slander, but it just comes with the territory. Honestly, I had this item higher up on the list, right after Sanquine Rose, but decided to push it down just a bit. The Skull of Corruption creates a clone of the targeted NPC that lasts for 30 seconds. This staff has a lot more predictability than the previous two, its effect lasts longer, and it has 20 uses, doubling that of both Wabbajack and Sanquine Rose. Again though, the issue is that this artifact will only get you so far in combat. It can only be used against NPCs, not creatures, there can only be one clone at a time, and your new follower is only as strong as your opponent. Not to sound like a broken record, but once the skull is out of juice, it just becomes a cool looking rod. Next up, at number 11, is the Masque of Clavicus Vile. This helmet definitely gets points for its unique look, but just how useful is it? Well, starting with its base stats, it's a heavy armor piece and has an overall armor rating of 7.5. What's good about that is that the mask is on par with a Daedric helmet, meaning that it definitely is worth bringing to battle. Now, as for its enchantment, believe it or not, that's where it loses some points. It has the effect of fortifying the wearer's personality for 20 points. That's actually incredible, and is up there among the best pieces for fortifying personality. Although, that's exactly the issue. Unfortunately, personality doesn't get as much love in Oblivion as it does in, say, Morrowind. There aren't that many speechcraft checks, and if there are, the persuasion minigame can almost always make up for it. It can work wonders on Mercantile, which is nice, but in my opinion, it's just not enough to push it to a lower rank. Coming in at number 10 is Saviour's Hide. This is actually the item, in my opinion, that surpasses the Ring of Namira, at least in terms of similar enchantments. The hide grants the wearer 25% resistance to magic, while Namira's ring deals with reflecting spells and damage, which is of course a different ability. I'd personally rather take the Saviour's Hide over the ring. Apart from its heavy magical resistance, it's also a light armor cuirass. Cool looking, unique design to the side, the hide is almost on par with the glass cuirass's armor rating. It falls 0.5 short from the glass's 12.5 rating. Unfortunately, I'm at the point in the list where I have to get unfair and super nitpicky. The reason this cuirass falls at number 10 is because not every enemy is a spellcaster, meaning its effect won't always be relevant. Plus, from the regular Orcish cuirass onwards, the armor rating is just better. Up next at number 9 is the Ebony Blade. This is the second melee weapon to be featured on this list. It's a one-handed long blade, it deals 23 base damage, and has the enchantments of Absorb Health for 8 points and Silence for 10 seconds. Getting up close and personal with a spellcaster should easily put you as the victor, and that absorption can come in clutch while in a bind. The Ebony Blade has 45 uses for its effects, which compared to some of the other weapons we've seen, is pretty good. However, that number isn't the best out of the entire group, and that's why it's placed where it is. Plus, the basic Daedric Longsword deals 24 base damage, so there's definitely room for improvement. At number 8, officially halfway through the list, is the Ring of Khajiiti. This piece of jewelry grants the user with a 10-point fortification to their speed. It gives them 35% chameleon. The Ring of Khajiiti is actually the best lootable ring in the game for the chameleon effect. With the two enchantments combined, thieves, rogues, and assassins alike should have no problem with slipping in and out of the scene. At this point in the video, the only justification I can give for why an item isn't lower on the list is that the ones below it are a little more universal and or slightly more powerful. For number 7, I have Spellbreaker. This one fell off my radar for a bit, as I often forget that it exists. However, it actually happens to be an incredibly useful artifact. Spellbreaker is an enchanted heavy armor shield. It has an armor rating of 17, which is identical to an Orca shield. Where it really shines though is its enchantment. It reflects spells for 30%. According to the UESP, it's only second to the Mundane Ring in terms of the reflect spell effect. Now, why I find the shield to be really nice is that it can be used by almost all classes. Simply equipping the shield gives you the buff, meaning spellcasters, warriors, and rogues can reap the rewards. However, the same unfortunately cannot be said for archers and staff users. Next up, at number 6, is the Mace of Molag Bal. This one-handed blunt weapon deals 25 base damage and has the enchantments of Absorb Strength and Magicka for 5 points each. Its effects have 44 uses. What's more, according to the UESP, the developers decided to buff the mace even more in the remake by increasing the duration of both effects by 10 seconds. Molag Bal's prodding stick is up there as the best one-handed mace in the game, rivaled only by the Mace of the Crusader. It can easily counter a warrior as well as a mage, honorably earning it the spot as the 6th most useful Daedric artifact. Moving on to the top 5 Daedric items, or I guess bottom 5 given how I've been doing this list. At number 5, I have Goldbrand. Goldbrand is a one-handed longsword, deals 25 base damage, and through its enchantment, deals 22 points of fire damage. In terms of raw, pound-for-pound damage output, Goldbrand easily tops out this list. What's more, its effect has 76 uses, placing it as the weapon with the second highest charge. It's just behind another melee weapon that hasn't come up yet. There are some enemies that Goldbrand won't be 100% effective towards, like most Daedra and any Dunmer NPC. However, undead and high elves will certainly feel its effects more. Coming in at number 4 is Umbra. Umbra is a one-handed long blade that deals 28 base damage, the highest number for any given longsword. Its high damage output is complemented by its enchantment, 120 seconds of Soul Trap. That's double the duration of the master level Soul Trap spell, and it's way more than any of the Soul Snare and Damnation weapons. Umbra's effect has 125 uses and is the aforementioned weapon with the most charges. What's more, this otherwise very heavy blade can be exploited by the player into having a weight of 0. By defeating Umbra, taking the sword, and never handing the blade to Clavicus Vile, this legendary weapon can completely bell curve your playthrough. Even at lower levels, with it being nowhere near the best possible version, it's still up there as the best weapon you can get your hands on. Alright, as this list enters the top or bottom 3 most useful Daedric artifacts, I just have to say that I feel as though these remaining items could be arranged in any order. All 3 deserve to be in that number 1 spot, and there's also a case to be made for why they can each be at the bottom of the pack. At number 3, I have the Skeleton Key. I'm not gonna lie to you, this was at number 1 for quite some time. The Skeleton Key buffs the user's security skill by 40 points and gives you an indestructible lockpick. Essentially, you can now get into any container that's secured by a leveled lock, and you can completely skip over the lockpicking minigame. There's a reason this artifact becomes banned in Skyrim and overshadows its predecessor in Morrowind. It's incredibly overpowered. The only reason I decided to bump it to number 3 is because it can be contested by players who already have a really high security skill, aka rogues, thieves, and assassins. Coming in at number 2, the second most useful Daedric artifact in Oblivion is the Oghma Infinium. There's a reason this is the last Daedric reward that the player can acquire. The Infinium is a book that can be used one time. Its effect is pretty incredible. By simply cracking it open, the player gets to choose from a branch of 3 skills and 2 attributes. This grouping then gets increased by 10 points each. So let's say you're a pretty high leveled warrior, and those last few skill increases are coming in slowly. The Infinium can get you there in the snap of a finger. If you need more carrying capacity, want to run faster, or want to increase your overall magicka, the Oghma can do that for you. The only reason this book is not at number 1 is because the player has to choose from the set pathways. You can't increase personality or luck, as you can only buff blade, blunt, heavy armor, light armor, security, sneak, conjuration, destruction, and restoration. Some of your desired attributes and skills might already be maxed out, or perhaps nothing even really helps the class that you're using. Then finally, at number 1, the most useful Daedric artifact in the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion is Azura's Star. The star is so simple, yet so effective. All it is a reusable soul gem. It can hold 1 soul, and said soul can then be used for recharging or enchanting. That soul, though, can be anything from petty to grand. That's exactly what puts Azura's Star at number 1 for me. Soul gems are always a hot commodity in the Elder Scrolls. Firstly, you need them to recharge your weapons. Every single weapon on this list will become severely nerfed if not for soul gems. Staves, swords, axes, hammers, bows, you name it. The main thing that elevates them above all the rest is their enchantments. In order to keep those enchantments going, they need to be recharged. Furthermore, in order to create some truly overpowered weapons and armor, an ample supply of grand soul gems is needed. Buying filled ones from vendors can be incredibly costly, and empty ones are inconvenient, finite, and still have a cost to them. Every high-level player in the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion needs soul gems, and Azura's Star can fulfill that need 1,000 times over. I will say though, the main downside to this artifact is that it can't hold NPC souls, so you will still need black soul gems in your inventory. With that concludes my ranking of Oblivion's most useful Daedric artifacts. Like I said in the beginning, this wasn't an easy task, and for certain playstyles and objectives, each artifact could probably get placed at number 1. Stealth-based characters would love the Ring of Khajiiti, smooth talkers would don the Masque of Clavicus Vile, and players taking on a bandit dungeon might really enjoy the Ring of Namira. With that being said, I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on this list down below. What would you change and what do you agree with? Thank you everyone for watching. Members, I really appreciate all of your support. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing. Until next time, keep on adventuring.